The old way of learning English is to memorize long lists of words and definitions. But when are you ever going to talk about hedgehogs or moles in your daily life?
Never, 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 never.
Trust me, there's a better way to become fluent in 2024 and beyond.
Are you serious? That is awesome!
Instead of memorizing words and definitions, you need to learn full phrases and expressions in real speech, like news articles, stories, and movies. And that's what we'll do today. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, we're going to practice listening to real speech. Now, I'm going to say a sentence 3 times, and you need to write down exactly what you hear in the comments. After, I'll explain what I said and how you can add it to your speech. Did you break it to him? Did you break it to him? Did you break it to him? Did you get that one? I said, did you break it to him? First, let's talk about the pronunciation changes. Did you, we pronounce this as didja. Didja, didja. So I combine those sounds together and I take you and I change it to ya. Didja, didja. Did you break it to him? Notice the last 2 words really sounded like one word. Tim, Tim. It almost sounded like Tim, the name Tim. And that's because we frequently get rid of the H on him and her at a natural pace, and we connect it to the word before. So it really sounds like im, and then you hear the t from to. Tim, Tim. Did you break it to him? Now, what does this mean? To break something to someone is an expression, and we use this when you share news or information with someone, but it's always negative. So maybe you applied for a promotion, but you're not going to get the promotion. So that's the negative news. Did you break it to him that he's not getting the promotion? So did you share this negative news with him? Did you break it to him? Our next listening test, remember to put what you hear in the comments. Cut it out, would ya? Cut it out, would ya? Cut it out, would ya? Did you get that one? I said, cut it out, would you? First, let's talk about pronunciation. Did ya? The same thing is happening here with would you. You becomes ya, and I combine those sounds. Would ya, ja, ja, would ya, would ya, would ya? Cut it out, would ya? Now let's talk about cut it out. You'll notice we have T's in between vowels. In American English, when a T comes between vowels, we change that to a d, a very soft D. Cut it out, cut it out. And I pronounce all 3 as one. Cut it out, cut it out, cut it out. Cut it out, would ya? The expression to cut something out means to stop something that is annoying or frustrating or irritating or unwanted. So let's say you're in a meeting for work and in the background your kids are going crazy. They're screaming, they're yelling, they're fighting. This is behavior that is unwanted, frustrating, irritating, annoying, and you want them to stop. So you can say to your kids, cut it out, would ya? Our next listening exercise, write what you hear in the comments. You gotta kick it up a notch. You gotta kick it up a notch. You gotta kick it up a notch. Did you get that one? I said, you gotta kick it up a notch. First, notice how I used gotta. This is a reduction. It's a combination of the words got to, and it's pronounced as one. Gotta, you gotta. You can also say you've gotta, you have got to, but in American English, it's very common to just say you gotta, you gotta. You got to is the same as you have to. Now let's talk about the expression to kick something up a notch. When you kick something up a notch, it's just encouraging you to perform better, work faster, work harder. So let's say you were tasked with assembling 100 boxes. And 2 hours have passed and your boss sees that you've only assembled 20 boxes. And your boss wants to tell you that you need to work harder, you need to work faster, you need to perform better. She can say, you gotta kick it up a notch. You gotta work faster, you gotta work harder. Our next listening exercise, write what you hear in the comments. I'll say it 3 times. Don't let him get to you. Don't let him get to you. Don't let him get to you. How'd you do with that one? I said, don't let him get to you. First, let's talk about pronunciation. Don't let him, let him. Notice again, I take that H off of him, I drop the sound, and then I'm left with im, but I combine it with the word before. Let him, let him, let him. Don't let him. Don't let him get to you. Now, I said you at the end. Many native speakers will drop this to ya. Don't let him get to ya, get to ya. Just like we saw with did ya, would ya. But I said you. Don't let him get to you. Now, what does this mean? When someone gets to you, it means that you become angry, annoyed, irritated, or frustrated because of that person's behavior. But we can also use this in situations. If you get really angry when you're stuck in traffic, I can say, don't let the traffic get to you. So don't let the situation make you angry, because what does being angry do? It doesn't benefit the situation in any way. Don't let the traffic get to you. Don't let your boss's criticism get to you. Don't let it anger you, frustrate you, or annoy you. Our next listening exercise, I'll say it 3 times. Write what you hear in the comments. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? What are you looking at? Did you get that one? What are you looking at? So here we have a very simple sentence, but it might be difficult for you because of those natural pronunciation changes, how I combine my words at a natural pace. What are you sounds like one word. What are ya? What are ya? So the R just becomes and I attach it to what? What are you? Now, I think I said you, but you can also, again, shorten that to ya, and native speakers commonly do that, so get comfortable with it. What are you? What are ya? What are you? What are ya? But remember, it sounds like one word. What are you? What are you looking at? Here, it's very common to take a word that ends in ing and drop the G sound, that G sound, and just end it on looking at. But notice I combine it with the word that comes next because it's a vowel. Looking at. So instead of looking at, it sounds like nat, and then I combine them. Looking at, looking at. What are you looking at? So how did you do with those listening exercises? Share your score in the comments below, and remember, you are being tested on your ability to understand the words I say, but also the ability to understand what my meaning is. So maybe you understood the words, but you didn't know the expression or the idiom. You didn't know what it meant. So you need both. But don't worry if this was difficult, because the more you practice, the more you study native speakers, the more you add these expressions to your vocabulary, the easier it will become. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say each sentence again, and I want you to imitate me and try to say it as closely to the way I pronounce it. And if you're in a private space, I want you to say it out loud. If you're in a public space, well then try this again when you're at home and you can say it out loud. Did you break it to him? Did you break it to him? Did you break it to him? Cut it out, would ya? Cut it out, would ya? Cut it out, would ya? You gotta kick it up a notch. You gotta kick it up a notch. You gotta kick it up a notch. Don't let him get to you. Don't let him get to you. Don't let him get to you. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? What are you looking at? Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Let's continue on, and we're going to do the same thing, but you're going to learn phrasal verbs, and you're going to do that by listening to real English from TV, movies, and YouTube. Here are your instructions for the entire lesson. First, you're going to see a sentence and you need to complete the sentence with the missing words. To do that, you're going to listen to a clip of real English and complete the sentence. After, you'll learn how to use the natural expression. Here we go. Our first listening exercise, whatever you need to complete the sentence, I'll play it 3 times.
Whatever she dishes out, you can give it right back double. Whatever she dishes out, you can give it right back double. Whatever she dishes out, you can give it right back double.
How'd you do with this one? Whatever she dishes out. Our phrasal verb is to dish out. Now let's review how to use this phrasal verb. To dish out. This simply means to criticize. So when you criticize someone or something, you say something negative about it. For example, she really dished it out to Tom at the meeting. She really criticized Tom at the meeting. Now notice I said dished it out. What's the it? The it represents the criticism. She dished out the criticism. She dished it out to Tom. And we always use this expression with criticism, so you don't need to specify that it. I'm sharing this phrasal verb with you because we have a very common expression in English. You can dish it out, but you can't take it. You can dish it out, which means you freely give criticism to others, but you can't take it. Which means if somebody tries to criticize you, you do not accept that, you become very upset or very angry. So if someone is being very critical, you might say, well, you can dish it out, but can you take it? Can you receive the criticism that you're giving? It's a way to remind someone that maybe you shouldn't criticize others. You can dish it out, but you can't take it. Amazing job. Now pay close attention because at the end of this lesson, I'm going to quiz you to make sure you really know how to use these phrasal verbs. Let's do this listening exercise again. Here's your sentence. And you need to complete the sentence. I'll play it 3 times.
We're all just muddling through, aren't we? We're all just muddling through, aren't we? We're all just muddling through, aren't we?
How'd you do with this one? We're all just muddling through. Let's learn how to use to muddle through. This is when you do or achieve something accidentally without a specific plan. For example, I muddled through making the cake. So maybe I had no idea how to make this cake. I didn't know the procedure. I didn't feel prepared. I muddled through making the cake, but it was actually quite delicious. So sometimes when you muddle through something, the result isn't very positive because you don't actually have a plan. Other times, it can be positive in the end. Amazing job. Number 3. Here's your sentence. You need to complete the sentence. I'll play it 3 times.
I'm excited to nerd out on it. I'm excited to nerd out on it. I'm excited to nerd out on it.
He's excited to nerd out on. This is a fun phrasal verb. Let's learn how to use it. To nerd out. Oh, I love this one. When you nerd out on something, it means you discuss it in great detail. Greater detail than the average person would normally do. For example, I can nerd out on sentence structure all day. I can discuss sentence structure, English sentence structure all day. But my friends who are native English speakers have no interest in discussing English sentence structure. To them, that is boring. But to me as an English teacher, and most likely to you as an English learner, we can nerd out on the English language all day. I can also nerd out on plants, talking about plants, different types of plants, looking at plants. I really love plants as well, but the average person probably doesn't want to discuss it in as much detail as I do. What about you? What's something that you could nerd out on? Nerd out on this specific topic all day. Share that in the comments. Number 4, complete the sentence. I'll play it 3 times.
Of course I'll stick around. Of course I'll stick around. Of course I'll stick around.
Of course, I'll stick around. Let's learn how to use this. To stick around. This is a very common phrasal verb, and it simply means to remain in a place for a period of time. Let's say you just finished dinner with a friend at a restaurant and you drove, but your friend took the bus. So you can just get in your car and leave, but your friend has to wait until the bus comes. So you could say, oh, don't worry, I'll stick around until the bus comes. I'll stay with you at this specific location, the restaurant or the bus stop, until the bus comes. Or let's say you're in the mall and it's raining outside. You might say, well, let's just stick around until it stops raining. So let's stay at this specific location until it stops raining. You'll absolutely use this in your daily speech and hear native speakers using this one all the time. Number 5, I'll play it 3 times.
Wash up for dinner, guys. Wash up for dinner, guys. Wash up for dinner, guys.
Did you get this one? Wash up for dinner. Let's review this phrasal verb. To wash up. This simply means to clean your hands, to wash your hands, and or to wash your face. So before dinner, you could say, oh, I just need to wash up. And most likely you're going to wash your hands. And I commonly say this in the evening before I watch a movie. I could say to my husband, oh, just give me 5 minutes to wash up before we start the movie. And for me, it's to wash my face because I love taking off my makeup before I watch a movie. It's a lot more comfortable. So women might use the wash up for our face more frequently. So it can be for both hands and face. Number 6, here's your sentence. Let's see if you can complete it. I'll play it 3 times.
Now make sure if you leave, you lock up the house. Now make sure if you leave, you lock up the house. Now make sure if you leave, you lock up the house.
How'd you do with this one? Now make sure if you leave, you lock up the house. Very good advice. Let's review this one. To lock up. This is when you securely close your windows and doors or entrances to your house or building. So it's another way of simply saying lock. For example, make sure you lock up before bed. And in that case, it's in your home, and that's of course good advice. But if you work in a building, someone is likely responsible for locking up at the end of the workday. So one person might be responsible for making sure that all the entrances to that building are securely closed or locked. So for example, Sally is responsible for locking up. Number 7, we're going to review one of my favorite TV shows, Parks and Rec. Let's see if you can complete this sentence.
And while he was yammering on about whatever. And while he was yammering on about whatever. And while he was yammering on about whatever.
How'd you do with this one? And while he was yammering on. Let's review this. To yammer on. This is when you talk continuously in an annoying way. For example, I ran into Kate at the mall and she yammered on for hours and I missed my bus. So I ran into Kate. I saw Kate, but I wasn't expecting to see her. I saw her accidentally. I ran into Kate at the mall and she yammered on, oh, hi, Jennifer. I'd love to tell you about my vacation. And then 10 minutes later, she's still talking about her vacation and she doesn't realize that I'm not that interested in her vacation, or I'm just busy and need to leave. To yammer on. Number 8, they've been, let's listen 3 times.
They've been mouthing off to me. They've been mouthing off to me. They've been mouthing off to me.
Did you get this one? They've been mouthing off to me. Oh no. Let's review this one. To mouth off. When you mouth off to someone, you speak to that person in a disrespectful way or in an angry way. So this is something that kids, especially teenagers, do to their parents. And when I was a teenager, if I mouthed off to my parents, I would be grounded. When you're grounded, this means that certain privileges are taken away from you. So if you're grounded, maybe you can't go to the movies with your friends, you can't use the car, you can't use the computer, privileges you would normally have in the house.
You're grounded.
You're grounded.
And as adults, we also don't want to mouth off to certain people like our boss or an authority figure like a police officer. Is definitely not a good idea to mouth off. Number 9, yeah, but I. Let's listen 3 times.
Yeah, but I maxed out my credit card. Yeah, but I maxed out my credit card. Yeah, but I maxed out my credit card.
Did you get this one? Yeah, but I maxed out my credit card. Uh-oh. Let's review this. To max out. When you max something out, it means you take that something to a limit. For example, I maxed out my credit cards on vacation. So your credit card has a limit, maybe $10,000. If you maxed out that credit card, it means that you spent $10,000, the maximum amount, the limit of that credit card. Likely not the best idea. And finally, number 10, this is a fun one. Let's listen 3 times.
I'm loading up on carbs. I'm loading up on carbs. I'm loading up on carbs.
How'd you do? I'm loading up on carbs. Let's learn how to use this. To load up on. When you load up on something, it means you consume a lot of that something, or you purchase a lot of that something for a specific purpose. So let's say you're an athlete. Right before a race or a competition, you might load up on carbs. Carbs are carbohydrates, energy for your body. So you want to consume a lot of carbs. Jim loaded up on carbs before the race. Or you could say we loaded up on toilet paper because it was on sale. So we purchased a large amount of toilet paper because it was on sale. So now you have 10 new phrasal verbs, plus you've improved your listening skills of real English. So are you ready for your quiz? Here are the questions. Hit pause, take as much time as you need, and when you're ready for the answers, hit play. How'd you do with that quiz? Let's find out. Here are the answers. Hit pause, review them, and when you're ready, hit play. Amazing job. Now, one of the best ways to learn real speech in a real context is to study news articles. So that's what we'll do together.
First, I'll read the headline. A 12-year-old girl from Ottawa is making history as Canada's youngest ever university graduate. This is an inspiring story about this young lady. Now, Ottawa is Canada's capital city, Ottawa. And she is the youngest ever university graduate. Notice here how they added ever. Here, ever is simply used to emphasize, because you could get rid of it and say she's making history as Canada's youngest university graduate. When you add ever, it really just emphasizes it. Youngest ever university graduate. Another example, she was the first woman ever to win a prize. Again, without ever, the sentence still makes sense. She was the first woman to win a prize, the first woman ever to win a prize. So you can add that to emphasize. And notice here, a 12-year-old. You may notice that there is no S on year because this is functioning as an adjective. And adjectives don't have a singular or plural form, and that's why. If you're stating her age, you need to add the S. You would say she is 12 years old. So you absolutely need to add that S on years when you're stating someone's age, but here it's being used as an adjective to describe what type of girl she is. A girl from Ottawa. A 12-year-old girl. It gives more information to our noun. Let's continue. And this is the adorable, genius 12-year-old girl. Athea Grace Patricia Dennis, that's her name. Athea Grace Patricia Dennis is not your typical 12-year-old. Again, this is an adjective, so there is no S. She's not your typical 12-year-old. She's a child prodigy who's about to become the youngest Canadian to ever graduate from university. Again, you could say to graduate from university, but here ever to emphasize. Ever graduate from university with a bachelor's degree in biomedical science. So this is her degree, biomedical science. And notice you have a degree in something, degree in biomedical science. If you're listing the subject, you might say, I have a Bachelor of Arts. This is the title of it, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science. But they're being more specific. They're listing the field here, biomedical science. She doesn't have a bachelor of biomedical science. She has a bachelor of science, but then biomedical science is her field. So you can use in when you state more information. This is the category science, but then this is the specific field within science. So in biomedical science. Let's continue. She started the program when she was 9. Here, this is not an adjective. She was 9. But if you were to write this, you can say she was 9 years old, because there are two correct ways in English to say age. You can simply say she was 9. This is correct. She was 9 years old. This is correct. How about this? She was 9 years. Is this an option? What do you think? This is not correct. So I'm going to put a frowny face. This is not correct because you can't end on years. You have to add old if you want to use years, or you can drop both and just end on the number. So she was 9 years with an S. She was 9, and those are your only two options. This is not an option. So I'll put an X beside it as well. So you know, this is not an option. She started the program when she was 9 or 9 years old, at a time when most of her peers were playing games at recess. Let's look at peers. This is a noun. Right now you can see it is in plural form, peers. Her peers are people who are her same age, people who are in the same school as her for a typical 9-year-old. So her peers are not university students, because that is not typical, the group of people a 9-year-old would typically interact with. So your peers are a group of people who you would typically interact with either in a social context, a family context, or a business context as well. You can have one peer and it can be singular, or you can have peers with an S, which represents a group. As an example, a parent might say, are you inviting your peers to your party? Maybe it's your birthday party. And then a typical 9-year-old, her peers would be the other students in her class, or maybe her friends from her dance club or from her soccer club, a group that she belongs to. So you can say peers. You could also say classmates to your party, because in this case, a 9-year-old's classmates are her peers. It's the group of people she would normally interact with. And recess. Recess is a break you get in between classes, and generally during recess you go outside and you're physical, you play, you run around and you play. It is a kid's favorite part of the day is recess. So you might have your classes in the morning, you have math, science, geography, and then you get a 15-minute recess or a break, and then you get to go outside and play. So for kids in school, they call it recess. For adults in the workplace, we generally call it a break. A break. We don't use the term recess. So this is a break for kids. A break for kids in school during the school day. A break for kids in school during the school day. Favorite part of the day, recess. Let's continue. Being a preteen in an intensive university program has come with a unique set of challenges. Okay, a preteen. Do you know who they're describing? A preteen. Well, they're describing her because she graduated or is going to graduate at 12 years old. A teenager, teen is when you become 13. Okay, so 13 to 19, you're a teenager. Because your age ends in teen, 13, 14, 19. So preteen is right before you become a teenager. So when you're 12, you're a preteen. You're almost a teenager. So most likely it would be 11 to 12 years old. 11 to 12. You're a preteen. And then once you hit 13, you're not a preteen, you're a teenager. So being a preteen and in an intensive university program has come with a unique set of challenges. Patricia Dennis has dealt with preconceived notions. Preconceived means that it was conceived, formed too early. Too early because there wasn't enough thought or knowledge to form your opinion or your idea. So the notion here, a preconceived notion, in this case, this is an expression, a preconceived notion, and notion represents an idea or an opinion that was formed too early. So you didn't take enough time, you didn't have enough knowledge, you didn't do enough research to form that opinion. So notion represents idea or opinion. So this young lady, this 12-year-old, this preteen in university is dealing with a lot of people who have preconceived notions. So you can imagine if you were 20, 22, and you were walking down the hallway and you saw a 12-year-old in a university, most likely you instantly have an opinion about that because you didn't take enough time to think about it or really consider it. So that might be your preconceived notion. And expectations from others about how she is going to look, talk, and act based on her age. Now, this is something that non-native speakers have to deal with a lot. Other people having preconceived notions about their skills or abilities simply because they might have an accent or they might make a grammar mistake, right? Let's continue. My advice, this is coming from Patricia Dennis, the young lady. My advice for people who are also young, gifted, smart, talented, don't let other people's expectations bring you down. When something brings you down, it's bringing down your emotions. So it's taking you from positive emotions to more negative emotions. And in this case, the something is other people's expectations. So Patricia Dennis is excited to be in school. She's happy, so she has positive emotion. But then she has to deal with these expectations and preconceived notions from her peers who really aren't her peers because they're 22 and she's 12, right? But they are her peers because they're in the same class. But it's a different situation. And that is bringing her down. So taking her from excited and happy to not as happy. So this happens a lot. When something brings you down, you might say, don't let that grammar mistake bring you down. So you might be really enthusiastic about studying English, feeling really good about your English level, and then you make a grammar mistake and your enthusiasm or your positive feelings go down. Or you're trying to have a conversation with someone and you're really excited and they say, I'm sorry, I can't understand you. And that comment brings you down. Or you're watching a movie and you were feeling really happy, but then the movie was sad and the movie brought you down. So took your emotions from positive to negative. That's when something brings you down. Let me write that. So something brings you down. Something brings you down. The something takes you from positive to negative. And I'll put emotion because this really is about how you feel, your emotions. All right, let's continue on. The highlight of her university career so far was completing a 40-page thesis. So here we have again, 40-page, but this is functioning as an adjective, so we don't have an S. What if you took this information and you wrote it in a way that 40-page was not an adjective and it in fact had an S? How would you change those? So I might say she completed, that's our verb here. She completed a thesis that was 40 pages. 40 pages. Or simply you could say her thesis was 40 pages. Her thesis was 40 pages long. Just like you would say my book that you're reading. My book is 200 pages long. My book is 200 pages long. So in this case, this is not an adjective, it's a noun, so you add the S. The highlight, this is the most memorable, the most important part, the highlight of something. So here's a fun expression you can complete. The highlight of my last vacation was, and then you can share the highlight. But notice here, what do you have? Was, and then this is a verb in ing. So you might say was seeing, was meeting, was climbing. Maybe you climbed a mountain, was eating, was what? Was taking. So notice our verb in ing. So this is a fun expression. Finish that in the comments below, and I can't wait to hear what your highlight was of your last vacation. And if you haven't been on a vacation in a long time, you can change this to weekend. The highlight of my weekend was, so feel free to change that if vacation is not relevant to you. So highlight, most important or most memorable part. I'll write that for you. Most important, memorable, important, memorable. And remember the structure, the highlight of, and then whatever it is, my last vacation. Let's continue. The highlight of her university career so far was completing a 40-page thesis on the relationship between handedness and functional activity in the cerebellum. The cerebellum is a part of your brain. I'll be honest, I don't know where the cerebellum is. It's somewhere. If you know where it is, you can share that in the comments. Or if you know what the cerebellum does, I'm not exactly sure because I am not a bioscientist like this 12-year-old is. But that's what she wrote her thesis on. Very advanced topic, isn't it? The paper concluded that connectivity between the brain and hand is significantly different for people who are right-handed versus those who are left-handed. That's very interesting because I am left-handed. You may not have known that about me, but I am left-handed. What about you? Are you right-handed or left-handed? Most likely you're right-handed. Most people are. But where are my fellow lefties out there? Share in the comments. And notice, I am right-handed. I am left-handed. I am right-handed. So that's what you can say. I am right-handed. I am left-handed. You can also say, I'm a lefty. This is the casual way of saying left-handed. I'm a lefty. It's a very casual way of saying it. It's not slang, it's just casual. I'm a lefty. Or I guess you can say, I'm a righty. I've never said that because I'm not a righty. I'm a lefty. I'm a righty. I'm a lefty. What about you? Are you a righty or a lefty? You can put that in the comments. All right, right-handed and left-handed. When she's not researching or writing about the brain, Patricia Dennis is a very good violinist, her mom said. Wow, she's also a violinist. That's impressive. She also loves playing with her cats and binge watching TV shows. Binge watching. When you binge watch, it means you watch many episodes at one time. So you don't just watch one episode, you watch 10 episodes or 5 episodes. You binge watch. You watch many. Watch many. So do you ever binge watch my lessons instead of just watching one lesson and then you go do something else? Or do you sit here and watch again and another lesson and a different lesson and another lesson? Do you binge watch the lessons? That would be a compliment if you do, so let me know. And she's interested in continuing her research on functional activity in the cerebellum, somewhere in the brain. And notice here, to be interested in. This is such a common expression in English, but I still see so many mistakes with this from my advanced students. They either forget the fact that there's the verb to be with this expression, or they put interesting instead of interested, or they forget the preposition in. And if you have a verb that follows it, the verb needs to be an ing. So let's take a moment to practice this because it's such a common expression in English. To be interested in, and then you can have a noun or a gerund. You might say, what's something that you're interested in? Share that in the comments. I'm interested in finding out where the cerebellum is. I'm interested in learning more about the cerebellum. I'm going to say that. In learning more about the cerebellum. To be, this is my verb to be. Interested, always with ed. This does not change. In, and then because I have a verb, it's ing. Now, maybe this was 2 years ago. Oh, 2 years ago, I was interested in learning more about the cerebellum because your verb to be is now in the past. But notice, nothing else changes. So take some time, share something that you're interested in the comments below because I see so many mistakes with this very common expression. Let's continue. I'll probably pick it back up when I have my own lab, and I can get people to also do it with me because I'll be in charge, she said. Now, when you have quotations, you know it is a person talking and they're reporting that person's speech. So these are the words of our 12-year-old college graduate. I'll probably means 80% sure. Definitely is more 100%. I'll absolutely 100%. But probably is 80%. Maybe is 50%. So this is about 80%. 80% certain. I'll probably pick it back up. When you pick it back up, it means you continue doing something you previously did. Now, we generally use this for activities, sports, hobbies, and in this case, a research interest because she's talking about her research. I'll pick it back up, which implies she's not doing the research right now, but she's going to start doing it again. So when you continue doing something you previously did, so you do something, there's a break, you don't do it, and then you do it again, that's pick it back up, okay? So let's say, let me write this first. Start doing something again that you previously did. So let's say you played guitar or soccer, whatever you'd like, when you were 16, okay? 16 maybe to 18 years old. And then 18 to 22, no activities. You were focused on your school and you didn't do any activities other than your school. But then 22, you graduate. So 23, now you can say, I think I'll pick guitar back up again. Or I think I'll pick soccer back up again. Back up again. So you're just going to continue doing it. I'll probably pick it back up when I have my own lab. So what about you? Is there an activity you did? It could be a sport. It could be a hobby, maybe learning a language other than English as well. And then you did it for a while, you stopped, and now is there anything that you're considering picking back up, starting to do again? Share that in the comments as well. I'll probably pick it back up when I have my own lab and I can get people to also do it with me because I'll be in charge, she said. 12 years old and already wanting to be the boss. I like that. I'll be in charge. To be in charge means that you're in control, you're responsible. So you could say, I'm in charge of this project. So you're in control. It's your responsibility. And sometimes you might call a store because you had a bad experience, a bad customer experience, and you say, I want to talk to someone who's in charge. Who's in charge here? You want to talk to the manager, the person responsible. So you might say that. Who's in charge of this store or this project? And then someone might say, I'm in charge. How can I help you, sir? And hopefully there won't be too much of an issue. And that's the end of our article. Very inspiring to hear about a 12-year-old university graduate. So now what I'll do is I will go to the top and I'll read the article from start to finish. And this time you can focus on my pronunciation. A 12-year-old girl from Ottawa is making history as Canada's youngest ever university graduate. Athea Grace Patricia Dennis is not your typical 12-year-old. She's a child prodigy who's about to become the youngest Canadian to ever graduate from university, with a bachelor's degree in biomedical science. She started the program when she was 9, at a time when most of her peers were playing games at recess. Being a preteen in an intensive university program has come with a unique set of challenges. Patricia Dennis has dealt with preconceived notions and expectations from others about how she is going to look, talk, and act based on her age. My advice for people who are also young, gifted, smart, talented, don't let other people's expectations bring you down, she said. The highlight of her university career so far was completing a 40-page thesis on the relationship between handedness and functional activity in the cerebellum. The paper concluded that connectivity between the brain and hand is significantly different for people who are right-handed versus those who are left-handed. When she's not researching or writing about the brain, Patricia Dennis is a very good violinist, her mom said. She also loves playing with her cats and binge watching TV shows with her family. and she's interested in continuing her research on functional activity in the cerebellum. I'll probably pick it back up when I have my own lab, and I can get people to also do it with me because I'll be in charge, she said.
So did you like this new way to become fluent? If you do, then put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And I have another lesson that will help you become fluent, so watch it right now.